It did the job. All right, guys. Happy Monday. Hope everyone's doing awesome. And yeah, I am with my good friend Chad Mackin, and I'm really excited to have him on for this topic. But before we get started, and people and everyone that's listening in, feel free to leave a comment, say hi. If you guys have a question or anything, feel free to leave a question. But yeah, before we get into the topic, Chad, why don't you do a quick intro of where you're at, what you're doing, and yeah, kind of take it from there.
Okay, well, I took my first professional contract to train a dog in March of 1993. So, it's been a minute since I've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I have spent most of that time trying to get better. In other words, I worked for a lady one time who used to always we get in arguments about training, and she'd say, "I've been doing this for 20 years," and I never said it out loud, but in my head, I thought, "Yeah, but you ain't learned anything in 19, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times there's a lot of trainers that get stuck in their ways and at a certain point they go, this is the way I do things. And I'm not going to say I'll never hit that point, but I will say that I haven't hit that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking for better ways to get things done with dogs, uh, and that often means learning new skills I haven't had before, looking at different ways people are doing things, and at the end of the day, it is super important for me to make the training as friction free as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for the dogs, for the dog owners, for myself, and for people who have to live around or near the dog, right? I take into consideration the dog's neighbors. How are they relating to the dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just about it's all about creating the right relationship and the right skills in the dog to do well in the world that they have to live in. And
Mm-hmm.
that means I have to spend a lot of time listening to what owners need from their dogs. Um, but it's been a journey to do things in ways that dogs enjoy more. Like Denise Fenzi has a wonderful little mantra that I love, which is do more of what dogs like and less of what they don't like. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I try and train. I'm not a force-free trainer by any stretch of the imagination, but to be honest with you, between you and me and everybody listening, I kind of take it as a compliment when someone asks me if I'm a force-free trainer. Like if someone
Yeah.
goes, "Hey, you're not one of those force-free trainers, are you?" No, but I'm glad you think I am, because that means I'm working really hard to avoid creating conflict where I can.
Mm-hmm.
And but like I don't get me wrong, I have no problem using aversive control at all. Like I don't hesitate to use it in situations where I think it's best. But the better I get at positive reward based strategies and motivation based strategies and finding solutions that involve things like biological fulfillment and better teaching strategies and uh, what I call upstream interventions, the less I find myself in a situation where I think aversive control is the best solution
Mm-hmm.
or the most important thing to do. So that's a little bit about myself. I focus almost entirely on pet dog training. Like
Mm-hmm.
I made a decision a long time ago that I what I want to do with my life is I want to help dogs live better with their families.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's the whole thing. I want dogs to live better with their families. I want them to have a more fulfilling life, and I want them to stay in their home. And that to me is way more rewarding than any ribbon or title or accolade I can get elsewhere. And that's where my passion lies.
I love it. I mean, honestly, that's it. It's definitely something I totally agree, and it's the same thing for me. Like I'd rather keep dogs in homes. I like there's so many there's such an influx with like dogs at the shelter and like rescues, and they have like sometimes a hard time finding dogs at home, and then just talking about like literally between like I'm always highlighting like biological fulfillment, because
Hmm.
between I listen to you, between I listen to Jay, between I listen to like all these different really cool dog trainers, that's just like just sometimes just being able to kind of meet the needs of dogs. And even just like I like that Denise Fenzi quote, like do stuff your dog likes more than things your dog doesn't like.
Hmm.
It's really good. Like it's already just great to listen to quotes like that, because it's like, now I can start saying that to like a client that's like, hey, like honestly, if you did more stuff your dog liked, maybe your dog won't give you that much issue. And even just like I just love how you talked about like training with the least conflict, because like sometimes you'll have dogs who love conflict and will
Hmm.
totally just be like, all right, come on, bro, let's go. Or like, sometimes, and even just like, even like I think you and I are like, I think also like I feel also where most owners don't really want to have conflict with their dogs, like they don't want to like they don't want to like they don't want to like first they like kind of punish, or like do stuff that would kind of create like conflict between them. I think just
Hmm.
being able to kind of like, especially with clients, I feel like if I can work with the dog, if I can work with the owner to make it the least conflict as possible, 100%. um
Hmm.
just because it's like they because like when we're talking with like pet owners and things like that, it's like they're not like, they don't have like the train, they don't have like the skill, they don't have like the hours. We go to seminars and we like learn like how like where you and I are Chad are at, but like like we're talking about like normal pet dog owners who work from 9 to 5, could have kids and things like that, and we just kind of have, it's, I think it's like just for us to deliver information that between like biological fulfillment and like different ways to work on behaviors aside from just compulsive, or
Hmm.
just just like more conflict, more training that would create more conflict. So I
Hmm.
I'm totally I'm definitely I definitely support all that. So um but yeah, I think but yeah, like, yeah, just between like what you say, Chad, between like your social media and like your Patreon, and then Jay, like it's just music to my ears, and so I just love listening to it. And then like couple, like I'm pretty sure like 2 years ago, like when you came over to Emily's to when she hosted you for a seminar, like
Hmm.
it was such a fun time, and it was just like I learned a lot. And then like just bringing up this topic that we're talking about right now, which is pattern relevance, was just it like I knew about it, but then it made me think more about it. I'm just like, this is so valid, this is so true. And it was just
Hmm.
funny where it's just like, every time every time here and there, it would just be like Kevin, like Chad would just point at me like, Kevin, like pattern relevance, like yes. And then I'm just like, I just stuck in my head now. Well,
Yeah, that's
but it was awesome.
I love that for you. Like that was like so yeah, when most people talk about learning, when most people think about learning and how learning occurs, what they tend to think of is what is the pattern? What is the repeatable pattern that the dog is going to pick up on, right? And that I mean that's obviously you can't learn if you can't predict a pattern. That's in a sense that's what learning is. It's about predicting patterns, right?
Hmm.
It's about like every being, every organism goes through the world sort of trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And we do that by looking for patterns. We try and figure out what things signify other things and all of that. But the other side of that that's really important is that for any animal or any organism to learn a pattern, there has to be something relevant about that pattern.
Hmm.
Like there has to be something that matters to that dog about that pattern, right? Like um most people, if you ask them, does your dog know what it means when you grab your car keys and put your shoes on? Does your dog know what it means when you grab the leash? Does the dog know what time you feed them? Right? And I think I remember on a dog training conversations, Jay one time said his dogs knew whether they were going with him or not when he left the house based on what he was wearing. Like
Hmm.
just how he dressed, they would get all excited, or they just kind of go, "Oh, Dad's leaving without us again," right? And why do they learn those patterns? Because they mean something,
Hmm.
right? Like I always say, like if you're someone that has dog towels versus human towels, your dog knows what it means when you grab the dog towels.
Hmm.
but they don't react when you grab the human towels
Yep.
because that pattern doesn't mean anything to them. It's not significant. So whenever we're running into a behavior, I saw a post from a force free trainer today, and what this guy said, and I thought that was a good piece of advice. He goes, if you're trying to figure out how to stop a behavior, it might be a good idea to ask yourself how you would teach that behavior. Because then if you can see how to teach it, you can maybe start figuring out where the dog is getting what the dog is getting out of it
Mhm.
and reverse engineer the solution, like make sure they don't get that thing from it anymore.
Mhm.
And when I say pattern and relevance, that's a different way to say the same thing. Why is this behavior or this pattern important to the dog? And so, as I said in the workshop that you were at, if you want to change the behavior, you have to change what is it, Kevin?
Pattern and relevance.
Yeah, pattern or relevance, because you don't necessarily have to change both of them. Like you
Mhm.
either change what the dog expects to happen, right? Or
Mhm.
change why that is important to him. Like, for example, biological fulfillment. This is what I call an upstream intervention. It happens before the dog is in the situation to make the bad choice, right? Most of the dog training that we learn is downstream intervention. Like if you look at the quadrants, right?
Mhm.
your two types of punishment, your two types of reinforcement. What are those? Those are the dog does something, and then you either want to encourage them to do that in the future or discourage them from doing that in the future. That's downstream. They have to make the mistake before you can fix it. They have to do the right thing before you can reward it. So you have to wait at some point in time for the dog to make the choice, and then you adjust based on the choice they make. And listen, that is the most well documented learning intervention in the history of mankind. I'm not trying to say it's not good. I'm not trying to say it's not important. Like, it is the most well documented way to change behavior that we know of, like,
Mhm.
without exception. However, I do believe that there's a whole lot more value in most circumstances in that upstream intervention. And that comes down to one way to change the relevance. So, for example, if I have a dog that when I take them for walks, they're zipping out this way and want to chase this thing and chase that thing, and the leaf blows by, like, leaf, right? They're always scanning the environment for something to chase, for something to interact with, some place to get that drive out.
Mhm.
What if we spend a few minutes before our walk or regularly throughout the day is even better doing things that allow the dog to express that drive.
Mhm. Yep.
And then when the dog goes out for a walk, he's like, "Yeah, I can take or leave that leash because I was chasing shit all day long. This is not my only opportunity to do that." Another great example of this, if you have a chance to get Mark Goldberg on this thing, if you haven't already, I strongly
Mhm.
recommend you talk to Mark because Mark was really influential in a lot of the ways I think about dogs. And
Mhm.
I remember this conversation he told me about, like, and Mark has this thing, like, he's a great storyteller. Mark is a
Yep.
great storyteller, and the thing about great storytellers is they don't always tell the story exactly how it happened. They tell it in the way that's most interesting. So
Mm.
it's not lying, right? Because the truth
Mhm.
is there. But so I doubt that he actually talked to his client exactly this way, but I have. I've stolen it from him and talked to clients this way. And if you get him on, he could tell you that. But like the story he told me was about somebody who said, his dog is really good, but if he takes the leash off, the dog will run away.
Mhm.
And so Mark asked him, "Why? Does your dog hate you?" And you're like, "No, my dog loves me." He goes, "Well, then why is he trying to get away from you?" And well, he wants to go look at stuff. And Mark says, "Well, okay, that's fair. Why don't you let him look at stuff when you're on the leash with him then?"
Yep.
Right? And and that's an upstream intervention. If we go out for our walks and we take our dog out for a walk and always they're always being made to heel or walk nicely or focus on us, like somewhere along the line, a lot of dog trainers got the idea that a dog should heel whenever they're on leash, and that's not everybody. I mean, it's I think it's a minority now, but boy, Kevin, I used to go to a conference
Mhm.
and everybody would have their dogs with them. It's all these fucking Malinois just healing all over the place, like they're just laser pointed at the handler's eyes. Like
Yep.
they don't know anything that's going on in the world around them because they're staring at their handler everywhere they go. All of these dogs are under command perpetually 24/7, at least when they're not in their room. And it always bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
It never felt like that's a life for the dog. Dick Russell was a big exception. His dog was barely under command.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that he would lose his dog. Like, I didn't lose the wrong word, but like he'd be sitting there watching a presentation, go, oh, and his dog would be over there in the corner. He'd call her back, right? And that was a man who was totally comfortable with his level of control of his dog. He trusted
Mm-hmm.
his dog to make good decisions, and when she didn't, he reminded her and she came back, but he wasn't showing off for nobody, or maybe that's the way he showed off.
Mm-hmm.
But the point I'm getting at is like when you take your dog out for a walk, you guys should be having fun together. It shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be work for the dog every time they go out for a walk. Like, I don't care if my dog is in front of me, behind me, left side, right side, as long as we're walking, as long as we're on a walk together,
Mm-hmm.
not tied together on separate walks. I want my dog to do dog things. I want my dogs to sniff. I want them to explore. I want them to chase if they want to. Like every night. So with my dog Hella, and I'm sorry if you can hear her. I don't know. In my headphones, I could hear her chewing on a bone a few moments ago. She's not chewing on it now, but in my headphones, it was really loud. I was hoping it
Yep.
wasn't. It was just in my
No, you're
headphones.
you're good. I have not heard anything so far, so far
Okay.
so good.
Yeah, she's actually chewing on a hoof now. But like it used to be that I had to take her out and play with her every night before I left work. Because if I didn't, she'd be all night just dropping toys in my lap. Come on, let's play, let's play, let's play. And because she's drivey as hell, and I'm old and lazy, I don't want to do that every night when I get home.
Yep.
I want to relax. So I used to have to go and do this drivey work with her every day. Now I still do that, but not as much. Now I can take her out in the field and just let her run because now I can trust her off leash, so I just let her run and I'll throw the toy for her and I'll play tag a little bit, but mostly I just let her move her feet and run around and chase birds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she just has a blast out there, and then I can come home and she can chew on bone and be pretty okay.
Yep.
Um, but the whole point is like I have never viewed dog ownership as restricting dogs' activity. I've never viewed when I walk a dog as being you're doing what I want now. When I take a dog out for a walk, it's for them,
Hundred
right? We're
percent.
doing something together, but it's for them. And that's what I mean is all of these are examples of how you approach the relationship with a dog to change the relevance of these moments. Because if my dog gets to run, move her feet, and chase stuff when we're out for our evening walk, then when I say, okay, you can't do that anymore, she's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because value is related to scarcity.
Yep.
And so by adjusting scarcity, we adjust the relevance of that pattern as opposed to just adjusting the pattern.
Yep.
And so people think all the time about the pattern, and then they add reinforcement or punishments or corrections, however you want to say it, whatever euphemistically word you want to throw in there.
Yeah.
They wait until the behavior occurs and then they change something about it. And that's about changing pattern. And to some degree, it's about changing relevance, but it's really about changing the pattern. What does the dog do? And for me, so much more benefit can be had just by looking at why is the dog performing this behavior? What does this behavior mean to the dog
Yeah.
in this context? And if we change that, we can change what the dog does. So that's, and so the people who don't know is during the workshop I was teaching, I was trying to drill this point in because it is super important. And Kevin, I've known Kevin for a long time, so he got to be the lucky person that whenever a situation came up, we're talking about solving a problem, and I would say, so we have to do blah blah blah, and I said why, and I'd say Kevin, and Kevin would have to
Just
say pattern and relevance. So for two
yeah.
days he was like he was jumping pattern and relevance.
It was just it was drilled and it felt like it felt equivalent to ready and I was just like and my ears perked and I was like patterns and relevance and then it was so fun and it was a good way to keep me on my toes because like workshop can be long but like I learned but then the minute like I hear it I was like yes it was
So
so
some
great.
that's some Pavlovian conditioning right there.
100%. I was just like Kevin. I was like pattern and relevance. He's like, and he was like, you're like, good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I 100% agree because especially that's what I how I've been approaching clients now is just like, figure out like, okay, literally like why is your dog doing this? I'm like, like do you get your do you give your dog a chance to be a dog? In the sense where like, I always check on like, hey, how's his lifestyle? How's the routine? Like exercise wise, does he get to run off leash? Does he get to sniff? Or is he only going out twice a day doing 20-minute walks when this dog has legs and wants to run,
Hmm.
um and that's when it's like, I started just learning, like, instead of just like immediately just say, hey, I want to punish that or correct that behavior, or like, like reinforcement. I'm just like, okay, what can I do beforehand? What can I do that's like, like that scarcity thing was so, like between what you say with scarcity and then like what Jay talked about, like, constant and like opportunity, like
Hmm.
it's just like it's like for me, it's like, hey, it's just like, like, hey, if your dog wants to run or has like this extra energy, then instead of you fighting him on the leash and you're just kind of like popping him back and forth when he's just dragging you across the thing, it's like, hey, maybe play game to a tug, maybe play a game of chase, even just like, even with my dogs, like they totally understand my pattern in the sense where like the minute I get up and I say bye to everybody after my podcast or the live stream, I get up, I say bye, they all perk up, be like, oh, can we finally do shit now? Can
Yeah.
we finally do so? And I'm just like, all right. Or every time I just go yawn, I go, oh, and then immediately ears perked up. Um, but yeah, like
Yeah.
just being able to kind of like just being able to kind of get that, like kind of like fulfill those the needs of
Hmm.
dogs, just whether it's like chase, whether it's a bloodhound, I make a little scent trail for the or nose work, just kind of scratching that itch,
Hmm.
so then it's not like, because everybody is just, like just has this expectation, like the same way with like, I expect my dog to be right next to me and just like, perfect heel. I'm not about that. I don't even do that with my dogs these days. It's just kind of like I just use between like how hopefully my clarity is, how good my clarity is. If I just say let's go, they're with me. If I say free, then they can sniff and just do all that. But I'm not like having them like right next to me when I know, they want to be up ahead,
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and so it's important to understand that, like, so for example, take obedience
mhm,
for an issue like I practice obedience with my dog pretty regularly, and not every day, but several times a week we do some obedience exercises. Maybe it's just I make her sit or do a middle or heel for just for funsies.
mhm,
Um, I keep her obedience fairly sharp, not as sharp as it should be. Like she would not pass an SR today if I were to try.
mhm,
Like, and I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. She is as good as I need her to be for what I need her to do, because she is not a demo dog. She is my friend.
mhm,
She is my friend and my housemate, and that's what's most important to me, because that's what's most important to the people who pick up the phone and call us. Like, the dogs are their friends, and I used to spend a lot of time fighting with my clients about obedience. Like, for example, I started out and I tried to train every dog up to the AKC standard, right? Except for I took out the stand for examination, not because I didn't see value in it. I actually did. I just couldn't convince my clients to work on it. That was one thing. There's just like they just would not put the time in with that, and so I just removed it off my sort of menu, except for specific situations where I thought it would be helpful. However, um, uh, the one thing I wouldn't back down on was automatic sit. It was very important to me that we had a good automatic sit. And the reason for that is that automatic sit is about attention. It's the only command that the dog cues himself to obey. Kevin has disappeared. I don't know what's happening. Um, I don't know if we're still live or not, so I'm just gonna keep talking until Kevin joins us again. Um, so yeah, I was doing. I always insisted. Oh, here we go.
All right, I'm back. I'm back. My internet went out for like 5 seconds, and I immediately just put my hotspot on.
Okay. All right. So what did you? What? I guess you didn't hear what I was saying.
No, because immediately as you talked, it felt like the cliffhanger, and then immediately like everything went to shit, and I was just like, "What is happening?" And I was like, "Okay, cool,
Okay.
time to fix this."
Okay. So let me go back a little bit. So like I said, I didn't. Was had no problem removing the stand for examination from my obedience dogs when I started because I couldn't get people to buy into it. They wouldn't do the work. They wouldn't do the practice. I couldn't convince them it was worth the effort. But
Mm-hmm.
I did not, when it came to automatic sit at heel, I did not remove that requirement for a very long time. I eventually did remove it, but it was a very long time. And it was the number one reason why people would fail my group classes was that they didn't have a go to automatic sit, which was always crazy to me because we started that literally on week two.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you stop at heel, you put the dog in the sit, right? Week two. From week two on to, and this was a 9 week course, so for 7 weeks, the dog should have been expected to sit every single time they stopped at heel for 7 weeks. And yet they get to graduation, the dog's still not doing it often, it's still missing more than they're hitting. And what was up with that? Well, the thing was, again, just like with the Stanford examination, people wouldn't practice it because they
Mm-hmm.
didn't see the point. Like, as long as my dog's not pulling, I don't care if he sits. People don't want their dogs to be robots. Trainers like that. Dog owners just want to enjoy the walk with their dog. But the reason why I insisted on it was, to me, the what happened was I was revamping my group class, and I just contacted a bunch of trainers that I respected who taught group classes, and I asked them the simple question, do you require stand for examination to graduate? And it was about 50-50. Half the
Mm-hmm.
people did, half the people didn't. But Dick Russell gave me the clue to figure it out because he goes, I only require it in my advanced class, which was
Mm-hmm.
off leash. And I said, why? He goes, because I don't believe you can teach a reliable off leash dog if you can't get an automatic sit.
Mm-hmm.
Because automatic sit is the only command that the dog cues himself to obey. Right?
Right.
And the reason why dogs miss on the automatic sit is they miss the stop. Like, you're walking, you stop, and the dog takes a step or two forward and then goes, oh, and now they're in the wrong position. So they might sit, but they're sitting in front of you, not next to you, because they missed
Mm-hmm.
the stop. And so if you can't get a dog to pay enough attention to stop with you, the argument was that you're not going to have the attention you need to call them off of a rabbit or a squirrel or whatever. Like, and that made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept it in there because there was a practical purpose for it. And I would fight with, when I explained that to my clients, they would work for it. But I had to figure out how to explain it and present it in a way where they wanted. So for me, obedience fills this gap. Like the automatic sit was never about having the dog sit when I stopped. That was the demonstration of the attention that I needed to have that reliability if the dog is off leash. It
Yep.
was about attention to detail. And once I understood that, though, now I do it differently. Now I don't require an automatic. I don't teach an automatic sit. I don't
Mm-hmm.
teach it. I don't ask for it. Most of the dogs I train end up sitting when I stop anyway,
Yep.
but not because I ask for it, because it's a natural expression of the training I've done. But what I do is I reward the dogs a lot. I call them back when they get too distracted. Hey, come here. I call them back and reward them. And what they start to learn, again, pattern and relevance, when they start to feel themselves check out, they start to emotionally start to disconnect. And I go, hey, come back over here. What happens is the pattern of checking out becomes relevant because it immediately feeds into a reward event that
Mm-hmm.
they have to come back to me for. So we're short circuiting the distraction process. And so I've done a different thing. But the principle is the same. But again, one is an upstream intervention, the other is downstream,
Right.
right?
And
So
it.
the the value of obedience is not about controlling the dog in the moment, at least as far as I'm concerned. This is my belief. If I don't want to have a dog that I have to be constantly nudging back into a place with obedience.
Mhm.
That's not an enjoyable life for me or for the dog. I want a dog who makes good decisions, who knows where they fit in the relationship, who can read the room. And so through obedience, I teach them three skills through obedience that are super important for any being who lives with another being. And you know this because you were at the workshop, but this is my thing. The three things that every dog must learn in order to, well, there's actually four, but there's three that I get through obedience. Um,
Mhm.
they have to learn how to be bored and not make boredom someone else's problem.
Yep.
Being bored is part of life. Make peace with it. And we can
Yep.
do that through long duration behaviors, stays, and even a heel if we're not
Mhm.
being too crazy and shucking and jiving all over the place, but just a sort of healing in a circle gets them really bored and they have to focus. They have to dig deep to do that. Or again, a long stay. We can do that. That's number one. Number two, they need to be able to resist temptation, or as Sapolsky puts it, make the right make the right choice when the right choice is the hard choice.
Mhm.
Right? They need to be able to override that impulse. I always say, dogs don't. Your dog can't make a good decision or a bad decision if they can't actually make decisions. They have to be in the headspace where they can actually choose. And most dogs come prepackaged with impulse equals action. There's no choice to be made. So
Mhm.
through obedience, we practice, we put them in tempting situations and give them the opportunity to make the right choice and make the wrong choice. And we fix the wrong choices and we build that. And that is a downstream intervention. Like they get off the place cot, we go, get back on. That's a downstream intervention. But the whole process I'm looking at as an upstream intervention because I'm building a skill that I'm going to lean on later.
Yep.
Right. The obedience room is a low stakes environment. It doesn't matter. Like if the dog goes off the place cot, nothing's gonna happen. We're in a safe place. He's not gonna get hit by a car or taken by a predator. He's not gonna eat poison off the ground. He's not gonna get lost. We're in a safe environment. We just go, no, you don't do that. Get back on the place cot. There you go, good boy. Right? We just
Yep.
teach them to not do that in a low stakes environment. And then the third thing that they need to learn is they need to learn how to sort of regulate themselves emotionally. So if you imagine the dog is sort of has this center, the center, right? And something happens and changes the environment, and they might go excited over here, or they might go frightened over here, or it might make them calm here, or it might make them, sad over here. When their emotional state moves, the further it moves away from this sort of central place, the harder it's going to be for them to control their responses.
Mhm.
Right? So if they have a big emotional reaction to something, you're going to get big behavior out of that, and it's going to be hard for them to control that,
Mhm.
right? So when I say emotional regulation, what we want to do is we want to sort of make sure that they don't have to go big if they don't want to. Like, sure, they
Mhm.
can go big. Sure, they can go, yay, this is exciting. If it's a safe place, I say, rip it, run, go have your fun. Then, yeah, have that big emotional reaction because that's okay in that situation. It's safe. But if we're in a situation where it's not safe, I also need them to be able to say, "Hey, I'm not going to react to that. I'm going to sort of check that back. I'm going to downshift a little bit." And a lot of the stuff that we used to do to dogs to sort of solve these problems were about using consequences to create that emotional regulation. In other words, old school training, most of what it was, hey, don't do that. It's going to be unpleasant for you if you do. Like that
Mhm.
was 95% of what I learned coming up was how to make the dog regret bad choices.
Yep.
And that's not fun training to do. The dogs don't like it. I don't like doing it. And owners wouldn't do it even back then. And this is 30 plus years ago. In the modern age today, most owners aren't doing that shit. It doesn't like
Yep.
I you listen to dog trainers talk online and they complain about client compliance. The more a trainer complains about non-compliant clients, it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. The more you can count on that trainer also being more old school in there because I said so mindset.
Yep.
The more people work with, hey, let's make this fun for the dog, let's have a good time, let's Let's build what we want instead of punish what we don't want. Let's create a game that the dog enjoys playing. The more people do that, the less less they complain about clients not complying, because the clients go, this is actually fun to go out and work with my dog. I'm enjoying this because I'm seeing progress and the dog is excited. He's having a good time. Like, the worst thing, I hate seeing a dog who's been trained and looks like they're doing their math homework.
Hmm.
I hate that, unless they love math. Like, I know some people love math. I
Yep.
was never that kid. But like, if the dog's like,
Neither have I, so I totally relate.
if I tell a dog to sit and they go, okay, I'm not loving that.
Hmm.
Like, if that's the best I can get, fine. But if I go sit, the dog goes, yeah, we're playing the sit game. Yes, let's do this. That's what I want to see. And
Hmm.
owners will do that with their dog all the time. But if every time they tell the dog to sit, the dog looks like you just asked them, to do something really unpleasant, fine.
Yep.
Then owners just are going to stop doing it. And so it's it's more effective. Like, Sarah Wilson wrote a blog once called the most effective training method in the world revealed.
Hmm.
And what she said, and I read that blog because I want to hear. I respect Sarah. I want to see what she says about this. And her answer was, the most effective dog training method in the world is the one the owner will actually use.
Yep.
And as soon as we start to meet clients where they're at and say, how do we make this fun for you? The answer is, we do that by making it fun for the dog.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
And if we can do all that, then we're gonna have a good time. That doesn't mean we don't hold the dog accountable, so to speak. That doesn't mean there aren't consequences for bad choices. But like, if you're playing a video game and you make a mistake, what happens? You lose a life, or you
Hmm.
lose your coins, or you have to go back to the last save point. There's a consequence for making a mistake in a video game, and that's what makes them fun. Right? Like,
Yep.
if you have an open world video game where you just get to explore it, but there's nothing, no danger, nothing to kill you, nothing to fight, no puzzles to solve, it gets boring real fast.
Yep.
Right? So the idea is, there's rules in the game that make it interesting, and it just so happens that the dog gets good at playing the game and avoids the consequences which are built into the game. They
Hmm.
end up also developing the skills that we need them to develop.
Yep.
And then we can count on them, because a dog holding a stay when I bounce their favorite ball in front of them is not much different than them holding a stay or not chasing a squirrel.
Hmm.
Right? It's a higher level distraction, but the criteria for success is lower. If the dog's in a stay, they can't move. If the dog is
Right.
on a walk and I say don't chase the squirrel, they can move, they just can't chase. They can
Yep.
look at it. They can walk by going, I see you. Next time. I'll get you next time, motherfucker. Like, they can do all that, but they still, like, it's the standard for success is lower,
Yep.
but the difficulty is higher.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of evens out. And so obedience has this very important part of everything I do, but the obedience is incidental.
Hmm.
Right? Like, almost think of it like the old, again, video games. Like, I don't know if you grew up with this, because, well, I grew up a long time ago, and a lot of things were different.
Yeah.
But I was one of the first kids to get, like, educational video games, right? Like,
Yeah.
where, like, there'd be a math problem, and you'd have to put the right answer in, to move your character along the scale or whatever, and it was timed. Like, if you didn't hit the answer correct fast enough, you would lose,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I remember doing that as a kid as well. Like I think it was just like I can't remember the exact name, but I have an idea what you're talking about.
Well, the one you played and the one I played were probably very different, because the computers I played it on don't exist anymore. But
That's probably true. Now that
no,
I
it's
think
true.
about.
It's true, because every school in the school district I went to was a TRS-80, which was Radio Shack's brand of computer. And Radio Shack closed down like 20 years ago. So
Yep.
there's, like, but the TRS-80, that was, they had this great idea to give their computers to all these schools, so kids would the ideas was kids would learn on these computers, and then when they graduated, those would be the computers they bought. But they didn't count on how fast computer technology would accelerate.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, so we had these math games. But the point is, I loved playing those math games. I hated doing math, but I loved playing those math games,
Yeah.
and I got better at math. And so later on, when I need to actually do math, I can do it. I can do my arithmetic usually.
Yep.
Um, but so the idea is in the obedience, we're building those skills that we need, but we're using them in different contexts. And
Sure.
that's where they matter the most.
Sure. No, I totally agree. It's like I tell people all the time when I like recall, like when we do recall trainings, like I do all these different games instead of just like, your average just sit, stay, come. Like I work on like hide and seek, monkey in the middle, or like, I'll say, hey, when your dog comes to you, you can say, you can just like mark them, like yes or get it, and then you toss a treat in the hall, and then you immediately beeline it to the other side of the house. You're like, come, and then just keep the game going. Because it's like I tell people all the time, it's like, would you rather me teach your kid history by having them read chapter 18 in the textbook, or do you want me to like, we play like a game, we play like a little puppet show or something that kind of like gets the brains firing up, be like, oh, this is fun, this is really cool. um and yeah, like I absolutely love like doing the games, the clarity, and just like teaching like those life skills within the game. Like right, like like when Jay does stuff like steal your dog, like play tug with your dog while the other person tries to get their attention, or like out the dog, and then the dog gets a second. You wave the toy, she looks there, and then looks back at you. You're like yes, and then just like keep that going. Even just like enough, just working on like enough, and then
Mm-hmm.
your dog can learn. Okay, we're done playing. Cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
which is just like it's little things that like I love just talking to clients, because it's the little details I feel like that kind of make a big difference when it comes to their relationship. Because like I love how you quote it when you're like people don't want a robot. People get dogs to have a friend or
Mm-hmm.
family. So there was a lot that resonated with me from that workshop, in the sense where like it just made me think more like resist temptations, like,
Yeah.
and teaching the rules of life in the game, and then the game teaches just like all the important stuff without being like place for like every time you don't want your dog to chase something, or like I like doing recalls where I call my dog back from a bird or something, and I go get it, and like give my dog a chance to like that trade off. Come back to me, I'll give you a chance to chase that, and we're having a good time. Um, there was another thing I wanted to bring up, but now I kind of lost the thought as I was talking about this. But
Well, while you think about that, I want to point something out because you said something and you gave me credit for something. I want to be real clear. I did say dogs. We get dogs. People get dogs because they want friends. But I want to say that that's actually a George Cockrell line, and George left us
mhm,
not that long ago, and I
yep,
miss the big guy. Um,
mhm,
but he had this line he used to say: "Is people get a dog because they want a friend. They call us because they don't want their friend to be an asshole."
yep,
And that almost entirely sums up my approach to training. I want to make sure people's best friend's not an asshole. That's what we want to do,
yep.
and uh, and that's a big part of everything.
No,
So.
100%. I mean, like it makes sense, because it's just like like especially it's just like your average dog owner. They just want like a companion that they can go on walks with, and
Hmm.
like maybe go out to a dog friendly restaurant, have a beer, wine, or just have fun,
Hmm.
but just enjoy the world with, but like,
Hmm.
especially where we talk about just like how how I think it's just like how you were spot on with how trainers talk about compliance and things like that, but then I think it's how we deliver the information, but also like right, like I'm very much, I look at the person, I look at the dog, and I'm like, okay, like I'm more, I don't want, like, in the sense where like if you deliver. your information like in a way that's like it motivates the client, and it's like both the dog and the client enjoy it. It's like you get way more. It's like the compliance comes with. I think
Hmm.
it's just like I think with some trainers, just kind of like it's just a thing that it's like it was definitely like a skill for me that I was working on because before it was just kind of like when I was younger at that time it was just kind of like, oh, your dog got to do this and we got to do A, B, and C, keep the leashes tight, and like no fun stuff, and then now I'm way more just like, listen, let's work on let's do this, let's do A, B, and C, just and like build the game, make it fun, and just make it where like right like it's a trade off because like we have dogs in our houses that like they can't just be like back in the day where they can just run around, go play with the other dog, chase the cat, get a bury a bone, and then come back home just be like satisfied like that. And like it's like concrete jungle, or it's just like like we either come back during lunchtime to take them out, and then we come back and we just want to like which is totally understandable too because like I want to come back and eat, watch a show, and then go to bed. But like
Hmm.
it's definitely just something where I feel like we definitely I think just highlighting fulfilling the dog and just making sure like it's the same thing like happy wife, happy life is the same thing with happy dog, happy life as well.
Yeah, and I think it's it's important. Like people should have a dog that fits their needs,
Mm,
right? Like every trainer knows, like people get these working line shepherds or working line border collies, or worse of all, working line Malinois, or even a pet bred Malinois is too much for most people to have, and not because they lack the skills, but because they lack the lifestyle that will satisfy that dog, or fulfill that dog. Like having a dog like my dog Hella, like she is a great dog. Like she is, we live together really well. There's very little friction in our relationship. Um, but that is because I make an effort to meet certain needs that she has that, quite honestly, I don't always want to meet.
mm-hmm,
Like I'm not always down for a real vigorous game of tug. This is a place where, so Jay and I I mean, like one of my favorite stories about Jay is when we went to do our little tour of Australia a few years back. We did 3 cities there in Australia, and he would present one subject, I'd present another subject, he'd present one, and so on and so forth. But then we would have like working spots, and at lunch we'd break up. People had brought the working spots. We'd have a little meeting while everyone was having lunch, and we'd figure out who was going to do which dog, and we'd alternate. He'd do a dog, and I'd do a dog. But we'd look at what they wanted to work on and what they were here for, and he'd say, "I'll take this one, you take that one," and vice versa. We just figure out which dog would fit our training styles the best. And so I'm doing my stuff, the stuff you've seen both of us work, so on the surface we do things very differently. I'm not playing tug with most of my dogs. I'm more likely to use food, and I do
mm-hmm,
have them chase the lure. But like Jay, when he's doing food, he's making the miss, and he's like, not you missed. Like he's treating it exactly like a tug toy, and I am not quite the same thing. One way I would say it is Jay loves competitive games. I
yep,
love cooperative games. Like I
yep,
want to be on the dog side. Jay, and that's the difference in our personality. Jay likes competition. He likes conflict. That's his love. That's his passion. He likes to he's competitive as hell. And I am not. I'm more of like, hey, let's all work together. I'm much more cooperative than competitive. And that's just how I'm built. So when I play with my dogs, I will give my dog a good vigorous game of tug because that's what she loves.
mm-hmm,
But I enjoy spring pull more
yep,
because, right, I enjoy that more. I enjoy working with food more. So I'm doing my thing with food, and he's doing his thing with play. And at the end of the first day in Sydney, somebody raises their hand and they go, "Well, how do you two get along so well when you train so differently?" And before I could say anything, because I was a little taken aback by that, because Jay goes, "What do you mean? We do the exact same thing." And they're like, "What?" He goes, "We do the exact same thing. It's just expressed differently."
mm-hmm,
And that's the thing is like, you know, and I think people get confused because Jay tells everybody they should learn from me too. Like he
Yep.
always recommends people come to my workshops, and I always recommend people go to his workshops. Like he is maybe my biggest supporter in the dog world. Like my biggest cheerleader. Like he tells people to go to me, and I think sometimes people miss it.
Mhm.
I think some people see me not getting out the tugs and not doing flashy stuff with the dogs, but just bringing everything down and bringing dogs into a more chill headspace. And they're like, that's not the same thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I think people don't see. I think sometimes people are a little bit put off, like, well, I thought this was going to be more like Jay's stuff. And, you know, there are so many ways that Jay and I are so on the same page about so much stuff, but we're very, very different people too. We're very, very different people too. And he's bigger than life in every aspect,
Mhm.
right? And I'm a much more subdued, subtle person. And so I do feel like sometimes people show up to one of my workshops after Jay has promoted me, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't what I was expecting at all." And and that's cool because I'm not pretending to be anything I'm not. But people who see, people who look beyond the exterior, like, so there's strategies and tactics, right? Like
Mhm.
strategies are the overarching things. Tactics are the ways we do that. And Jay's strategies and mine are the same: provide biological fulfillment, build these skills that I talked about, teach the windows, right? Teach the dog to read the room. These are all the same. We're identical. I could teach those concepts, and Jay can teach those concepts, and it will sound different. We'll use different words and different expressions, but if you look, those concepts are at the root of everything both of us do.
Mhm.
The strategies are universal, but we each have very specific tactics. And if people are just looking at the tactics, the specific exercises we do, and not what we're trying to accomplish with them, they won't see how related they are. But
Sure.
if you understand the what we're shooting for, why we're doing the things we're doing, what's the reasoning behind it, what's the goal, or I should
Mhm.
say the point, not the goal, but the point.
Mhm.
Like if you see what the point is, you go, oh, it's the same thing. But people think too much about the goal. People think too much about what is the goal of this exercise, as opposed to what's the point of the exercise.
Mhm.
Again, and that comes back to pattern and relevance. Like people are seeing the pattern, but they're missing the relevance. They think the relevance is to win the game,
Mhm.
and it's not. The relevance is never to win the game. The relevance is to develop the skills necessary to win the game, because that's what you take out of the game.
Mhm.
And if but I mean, Jay's more exciting to watch for sure. like, like
It definitely, like it'll wake up. It definitely just like if either Jay gets bit or Jay, like Jay makes something dramatic or says something.
well,
it's definitely funny. I find it entertaining when I watch him work
he
dogs.
he is so funny. He's so funny and he's so authentic. And like my favorite video of Jay, I've shared this on my Facebook a couple of times. It's from when we were in Melbourne, and there's this little dog, little kind of scared little dog, and he had this little plush flower toy, right? And Jay was trying to get him to play with it. And oh my God, Jay's mannerisms when we played with this dog, they were so fun. Like he was having so much fun with that dog, and especially the contrast, because he was playing dainty for this dog. And if you were to list the first 1,000 adjectives you could use to describe Jay, dainty would never be on that list.
No.
Right? Like the first million adjectives, you wouldn't come up with dainty. But he was dainty as fuck with this dog, and it was a thing of beauty. Because what Jay does when he works with a dog is he when he plays with a dog, he makes the game the thing. Like most people when they play with the dogs in a training environment, the play never stops being a training exercise.
Mhm.
And Jay trusts the game enough that he knows the training will happen if he just plays the game,
Mhm.
which is another big point. Like, it's another thing that I had a conversation on. I have a dog training group on Facebook. Don't ever rush there, please. Like, it's pretty busy and everybody's welcome, but I don't want 300 people signing up for it all at once because it will overwhelm the moderators. But when you get a chance, if you're interested, we have a group called Dog Trainers Helping Dog Trainers, um, which is I think it's a great group, but it's very particular and it's we have rules like there's no gatekeeping. We don't ever tell people they shouldn't be training dogs. They're not, we don't make fun of people for their lack of experience. The whole point is like if you want help being a better dog trainer, we're here for you. And a lot of old school trainers can't do that. They just can't say let me help you. They have to make somebody feel like shit before they offer to help them.
Mhm.
Um, but somebody posted something on there. I don't know who this person is, like, but it kind of they came in and they just posted this thing about why rewards are bad, and I disagreed obviously with that, and but there was a little back and forth that went down there, and I eventually said, listen, I don't think you know who I am or what I do,
Mhm.
because if you did, you wouldn't be saying the things you're saying,
Yep.
right? Like she's saying we can't chalk it all up to quadrants. I said if you think that's what I do, you're not paying attention. She said, you just talk about dogs not living with biological fulfillment. If you don't think I care about biological fulfillment, you don't know what I do. Like you've not, you are completely unfamiliar with my work. Um, but it was very interesting because she made all these assumptions about me and what I did because she assumed I was just like every other dog trainer out there,
Mhm.
right? And that's a problem within the industry, right? That because I think, and I don't know because we didn't get that far because she just stopped kind of responding, and I was just responding to the posts she made. I wasn't asking her questions about her training because she said some things that I disagreed with. Um, if you assume other people are breaking down the training into uh the quadrants and operant conditioning and all that stuff, then you're going to read things different, right? And so one of the things I was thinking about after I had this conversation with her when I was out playing with Hella that night was I was going back to watching when I first started getting into play as a training modality, when I first started kind of experimenting with it and watching people do it. What I found was if most trainers when they play with a dog, the dog is not playing with them. The dog is playing with the toy. The trainer is facilitating the game by making the toy active, but the dog is not playing with them. The toy is the object of the game.
Mhm.
When you more so than anybody else I've ever seen, more so than anybody else I've ever seen, when Jay plays with a dog, they were playing with him, and the toy facilitates the game,
Mhm.
right? And and that's where I see the difference between a really good play-based trainer and a not so good play-based trainer is who is the dog actually playing with.
Yeah.
But the same thing is true for food. Is the dog am I facilitating the game that that brings food out, or does the food make the game more interesting for the dog? Is the
Mhm.
dog playing with me or is the dog playing with his food? And that's again, if you're not looking beyond the exterior beyond the tactics, you're not going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Because most people won't see the difference between a dog playing with Jay versus a dog playing with another trainer who's facilitating the toy play.
Mhm.
And this little video of Jay with this little flower toy, he's like he's so into the moment with the dog. He's got no ulterior motive except to give this dog a great experience.
Yep.
And that's something you cannot do until you've internalized all of those details.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like he. doesn't he's not he doesn't appear to be, and he can tell you I'm wrong. You're talking to him next week, so you can tell him, he can tell you that I'm wrong about this, but I don't think he's thinking in the moment about whether this is a moment to build courage or to build tenacity or a moment to reward the dog for effort. I think that is also internalized, that he's just responding to the, and I hate this word, but energy of
Mhm.
the game, right?
Mhm.
And the reason why I hate that word, by the way, is that it's something we all understand and none of us can explain, right? If I say
Yep.
this dog's energy feels off, every trainer in the world knows what I mean by that,
Yep.
right? Every trainer in the world knows what I mean by that, but we can't articulate it. And I don't like having things in my vocabulary that are that way,
Yep.
that 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 are that nebulous that we can't latch onto. Um, but that's what happens when you're working with a dog, is you're having a conversation, and it's sometimes, I always say energy is like unconscious learning. It's all the things that we don't notice consciously that tell us what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And that's the best I can come up with it. But I feel like when Jay is playing with a dog, he's just in the moment with the dog.
Mhm.
It's not an intellectual exercise with him. And I know when I'm handling the leash, it's usually not an intellectual exercise for me.
Mhm.
Like, it's something I do. I'm enjoying. When I choose to give food, I don't think, oh, now's a good time to reward.
Mhm.
I feel like it's a good time to reward. Now here's the moment to give the food. Like, very
Yeah.
rarely am I going, I'm gonna make him wait one more rep before I give him the food. I sometimes do that,
Mhm.
but for the most part, it's like, this feels like the right time. Oh, this doesn't feel like the right time. Let's do another one. And I can't tell you why I'm making those decisions a lot of times.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
But
honestly, like, just how you were saying how, like, it sometimes takes a bit internally to kinda, like, understand, like, from like, I have to kind of, like, repeat and kinda, like, think about how, like, between what you and Chad do, and, like, I now I'm starting to now getting more into it, now I'm starting to see little details as, like, this between, like, when Jay plays and then versus another trainer, be like, "Alright, cool," like, I'm kinda seeing the difference, like, it took like, a few years ago, it took me a minute to kind of, like, get
mhm,
everything, but now that I'm more, like, in like, more immersed, more, like, just listening and things like that, now it's like, "Alright, cool, now I'm getting now I'm getting what Chad's saying, now I'm getting what Jay's saying, now I'm starting to see, like, you know, like, the idea, now it's like, now I see the similarities, now I'm seeing all this, and it's like it took me a minute, but it was really cool for me to kind of, like, be like, "Wow," like, now I'm understanding what they're talking about, like, what you're saying, it's like, it totally makes sense, and even just, like, I love the difference between, like, you and Jay because it's just, like, Jay is just Jay, he does it he's so he I love the competitiveness, that I love how he, like, delivers stuff, I also, like, love how you deliver stuff, especially with food, because, like, I love using food and toys. So it's
mhm.
like, and and then it's just like I like it because sometimes I'm very quiet. Sometimes I'll cuss a lot like Jay. If anything, I blame Jay for influencing me to cuss so much sometimes. And then just like I was like
And that
after my first workshop, my roommate was like, "Wow, you are cussing a lot more than usual, Kevin." I'm like, "Oh, I guess I am, huh? Oh, well, you can thank Jay for that."
Bad words are a myth,
Yeah,
right? There's no, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm gonna watch. I don't like to offend people,
sure.
right? I don't like to offend people. I don't like to make people uncomfortable, and it costs me nothing to not cuss, right? So if I'm in
Hmm.
a situation where I don't think people are comfortable, I'll like I'm not swearing in church. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna, I got to know my audience to a certain degree. Um, but at the same time, I say that I also know that the whole idea that certain combinations of vowels and consonants are offensive and other ones aren't, is kind of ridiculous.
Mhm.
right? Like that's something we have created out of our own stupidity. Like why is it okay for a child to say poo poo but not shit? They're talking about the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Like don't get me wrong, like let me be very fucking clear here. If anybody's like, oh, Chad doesn't think bad words exist, like slurs are a thing. Like no, if you're throwing out slurs at people, fuck you. Like that's not cool. Like
Mhm.
but that's because we've all agreed somewhere along the lines that those words were intended to harm a people, intended to
Mhm.
hurt people, intended to make people feel bad for something that they have no control over usually. Um so fuck that. That's not cool. Like
Mhm.
that's not okay. Um but it's not the combination of vowels and consonants that make those things bad. It's the fact that those words are used to hurt people,
Mhm. Yep.
right? Like so like when I say there's no reason why shit should be offensive and poo poo shouldn't,
Mhm.
I mean that. But because they're both describing the same thing, just one is considered more coarse, but saying shit isn't harmful to anybody. Like there's nobody out there who maybe there's one person who was abused by somebody saying shit a lot, but for the most part, like if you hear the word shit, it's not going to make you feel like less of a person. It's not going to make you feel like you're somebody's hating on you.
Mhm.
It's just a word that we decided at some point in time that societally we're supposed to avoid certain words in certain company, and we're supposed to use kinder words around certain people. And I mean it's all stupid, it's all made up. Like
Mhm.
it's all made up, so I don't really care about it. Like I don't get offended by words, I get offended by slurs, and there's a difference. But I don't care, like use whatever fucking language you want around me. I don't care.
Yep.
It's but don't lie and don't say mean things, and
Yep.
we're gonna be just fine.
Yeah. Pretty simple rules. So it's like you can say oh, just don't be just don't be mean. So
Yeah. But like if I'm with a client and I don't know them, like I'm not gonna be dropping F bombs in the first lesson usually,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
But as soon as they drop an F bomb, I go, okay, we're good now. Like
Yep.
I will say it. Hey, you said it, so all bets are off now.
So I love that. Sometimes it just sometimes I'll say shit or just like something, and all of a sudden I just see the like maybe the lesson two or something. The client opens up. I'm like, okay, I guess we're good
Yeah.
now. We can we're at this stage. So cool.
Y- You know what's funny about that is like you can see it too. The first time, if you are the first one to swear in a lesson, you can see the owner go, "Oh, we're doing this. Okay, cool." Most times you can see the owner just relax. Like sometimes, like I've seen a few people stiffen up, and I saw it. I said, "Okay, I'm not doing that again." Because most people are too polite to tell you, so you got to read it. But most of the
Hmm.
time, you can see them go, "Okay, yeah." You can see the the pretense of professionalism disappears. They go, "Oh, we're
Hmm.
doing this. Okay, cool," and that's really nice. That's really nice. And that's another great J lesson, is to be authentic. Like, and Jay is
Yeah.
always his authentic self, no matter who he's with, and that's it. That's his superpower.
Yep.
Like, he just doesn't give a fuck what you think.
Yeah. No. 100%. I mean, I just love the authenticity. Like like it just like it taught me just just be authentic. Just
Hmm.
be real. And it's just like I same way with the dogs. Like I'm still working on how I play and things like that. But like it's just like I love this the authenticity between like you and Jay is just like it's like it's it's like I try I am it's like I love being authentic too, and then it's just like I also just love being like this the forever student. Like I am always like just love to figure out like what's someone's angle on this thing when it comes to dogs, or like what what's a different way to do this, and of course I just I'm always interested in how people deliver certain things that maybe if I don't do it with this dog, I can use this idea with this dog later on. So I'm definitely just like always finding. I'm just very open minded in the sense where I just like I think I love the part where I think I think there's a post or something where it's like you don't say like you're balance trainer. I think you said like you're more like blended trainer or something, or
Hmm.
like.
Yeah, I've been trying for a long time to find a way to explain what I do without relying on the balance versus force free labels, because I think those labels are just absurd. I
Mhm,
think drawing the line where they draw that, where they've driven, where everyone has drawn it, is ridiculous and it's counterproductive. I think it's bad for the industry. And I
mhm,
always say it, it's like, uh, if there's a trainer war, balance versus force free, that means I have enemies I don't want to have, and I have allies that I don't want to have. There are
mhm,
people who call themselves balanced trainers who are just, they're just assholes to dogs. Like that's their job. 24/7, they're just shitty to dogs. And and I don't want to be in their, I don't, they're not in my camp. They're not in my tribe, and I don't want to be associated with them. And then
mhm,
there are trainers who like Denise Fenzi, um and a lot of what I would call force free adjacent trainers. And I mean that the trainers who are on the force free side of things, but don't, like Denise doesn't even call herself a force free trainer.
mhm,
She doesn't accept that label.
mhm,
And she doesn't crusade against balanced trainers. She doesn't go making a bunch of posts about why balanced trainers suck and why force free training is better. She just does what she does, and she talks about what she does and why she likes to do it her way. And she doesn't throw shade at anybody. I consider her a friend. Like, we don't hang out, but we have a good professional relationship where I can send her an email or a message, and she'll respond, and she'll answer my questions, and she'll direct me to resources, and I can do the same to her. And like we are not, there's no antagonism between us. And we see, again, we're friendly. We've never had a meaningful conversation about anything but dogs, so I can't call her a friend. but
mhm.
but I think like I would love to hang out with her. I'm so disappointed that she got sort of that she had to drop out of the conference, because I was really looking forward to actually meeting her in person and spending time
Mhm.
with her, because I do respect her and I do like her, and it's such a shame what happened there.
Yep.
And but I call those people force free adjacent, because their identity isn't about being force free. They are force free, but that's not how they define themselves. It's not how they identify themselves. I don't identify as balanced, but I know that that's like, so there was a situation not that long ago on my where a force free trainer was on my friends list, and I didn't know this person, so I promise you I didn't go out and look for her friendship. Like, I don't ever, I'm so worried about making people uncomfortable that I will never send a friend request to somebody that I don't know, right? Like, they have to interact with me first in some way. I just don't do that. But I have a my like almost everything I post on my socials is public. I'm sometimes do things friends only. That's usually when it's not dog related. Like, I just want to talk about a movie or something like that. That's friends only. But if I put something dog related, almost every time it's public. I can't think of a single exception to that. So I end up with lots of friend requests, lots of friend
Mhm,
requests. Like I can't keep up with them. And so every once in a while I'll just go and I'll just batch a whole bunch of, okay, I'll accept this one, I'll accept this one, I'll accept this one, I'll accept this one. And I have certain criteria for that. I'm not telling you what it is, but I have
mhm,
criteria about whether I accept it, or I don't ever ignore them. I don't ever deny them. I just let them sit there if I don't, right? Because I'll go back and revisit. If they meet the criteria down the line, I will let them in. But I will just batch. I'll just let like 10 people into my friends list at a time. And the reason for that, by the way, is that Facebook does have a maximum limit of friends you can have,
yep.
right? And I have seen people have to start kicking people off of their friends, unfriending people so they can make room for new friends. I don't want to be in that position. So I'm a
Mhm,
little stingy with but I do everything in public. So if people want to follow me, they can get all of the stuff I have. But I'm a little stingy with accepting friend requests. Um, but anyway, so this person was on my friends list and I didn't know who they were. So obviously they had come to me and said, "Hey, I want to be your friend." Right. And so I saw a force free trainer post something, because I do have some friends who are force free trainers. I do like to know what's going on in that community. I do like to know what sorts of things they're talking about, and the sort of rhetoric they're using, especially the ones who are kind of making their whole identity about attacking balanced trainers. I like to know what they're saying. I like to know where they're coming from, because that's how you can join the conversation. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
hearing what they're saying, you don't know. But so I followed down a rabbit hole, like somebody had, and I find this person who's on my friends list saying that all balanced trainers are in a cult. And I'm like, well, that's kind of shitty, because you asked to be my friend and you think I'm in a cult,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I made a kind of a vague book post where I talked about how, it's weird when somebody asks me to be their friend when they see value in my work, but then they go on to somebody else's page and said all balance trainers are in a cult. And like somebody jumped in, that comment goes, well, you don't call yourself a balance trainer. And I'm like, okay, fair, fair. I don't tend to call myself a balance trainer. However, I don't get to define the word for the world. And according to the world, according to this dichotomy that we've created, I am a balanced trainer. I fit that definition. And as much as I don't want that definition to be true, I don't want to lump myself in with everybody in the entire world who will ever use an aversive strategy or tool for any circumstance. I don't believe that I'm in the same category as people who think using food is shitty, and that the dog just needs more prong or more volts to get what they want. I don't want to be associated with those fucking assholes.
Yep.
They are not in my tribe. I hate that I hate being labeled with them.
Mm.
But I know that's what's happening. So as much as I hate it, I also understand if you talk about balanced trainers writ large, you are referring to me, because that's the definition that we use,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I hate that this is the word we use. So yeah, I remember that. That was I think I got the term from my friend Tekla Walton. She said that she used the word blended. I tried to make that stick, but the truth is people want the line drawn where it's drawn.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what I call myself. To most people out there, I'm just another balance trainer.
Yep.
And especially to the force free people. You know, there's a really interesting book called Mistakes Were Made but Not by Me.
Mm.
And I can't remember who wrote it, but it's a pretty distinct title, so you should be able to find it. It was written by two people, a man and a woman, if I remember correctly. I read it a long time ago. Um, but in the book, the guy tells a story about his little girl going to kindergarten, the first day of kindergarten, and like some of the kids are scared, don't want to go in, they don't want to leave their moms. This is like new thing. And his daughter comes home from school, first day of school, and he's like, "What did you learn at school today?" And she goes, "I learned that boys are babies." And he goes, "What do you mean?" She's like, well, so many of those boys didn't want to go to school. They were just crying for their mommies the whole time. They didn't want to go in. They were just babies." And so he's like, "Well, did any of the girls cry too?" And she's like, "Well, some of them did, but most of us didn't." Right? And he pointed out that even at this age, at 5 years old, she's already creating an in group and an out group based on gender, right? The boys are babies, even though some of the girls behaved the exact same way as some of the boys. She gave them that grace to be nuanced, but all the boys were lumped into one sum
Mm-hmm.
or one group. Like all of them were guilty for the behavior of a few of the boys. But with the girls, it was only the ones who cried, and that was understandable because it was a very scary thing. But the boys were all babies, because, and this is how human beings are hardwired. Like this is not something we get to choose about. We form tribes. That is a survival mechanism that is deeply, deeply written into our brain biology that we cannot escape. However, and this is why it matters to me, we do get to decide what our tribe looks like. In other words, we are very malleable about what we identify as. Like, for example, if we had learned that there are play-based trainers and there are food-based trainers, then now suddenly Jay and I would be in different camps.
Hmm.
We'd be no longer related, you know. But we didn't draw the line there. We didn't draw the line there, and I'm glad because I would hate to be in a separate camp from Jay, um, you know. But we didn't draw the line there, and what I try to do, what I try to promote in all of my content and all the stuff I put out there is in how I treat people and how I write and how I talk about training is my tribe, the tribe that I want to create are people who see the same things important as I see. The dog's emotional well-being, the dog's emotional stability, the experience of the dog going through training, the experience of the owner going through training, do more of what dogs like and less of what they don't like. How important is that to you? How important that is that to your training strategies? How curious are you about why what you're doing works? How
Hmm.
curious, how willing to explore new ideas that you've never experienced before or new ways to look at things you already know are you? Like, I'll give you an example. I don't even know this. I've never had contact with this trainer at all. I've never reached out and sent them a private message. I've actually never liked any of their posts. I don't think, maybe one or two. Um, but there's this Facebook page called Darwin's Dog Training School, and I don't know who this guy is. He seems like he's probably a force-free trainer, but I don't know because he doesn't shit on balanced trainers. He doesn't jump into that fray, but he shows how he trains dogs. And like a lot of the stuff he does is very similar to what I'm doing, but slightly different. It's I'm like, I see what I do in your work. And sometimes I go, hey, I can take that little adjustment you made and apply it to my work and see if it works better.
Hmm.
And it's really cool. I don't know who this person is, but to me, he's in my tribe. He may hate balanced trainers. I don't know. Like if I reach out to him and go, "Hey, dude, I'm not supporting you because you still use these tools and I don't want to be a part of that." Maybe he wouldn't like me at all, but in my head, I look at him and go, "We're cut from the same cloth on this level." Because I see you working on the things I'm working on. I see you using strategies that make sense to me and that resonate with me and that reflect what I'm doing slightly differently. So to me, I've never met him, I've never talked to him, but I consider him part of my tribe because he seems to prioritize the things I prioritize.
For sure. For sure.
And so everybody should check that guy out, Darwin's Dog Training School. He's also funny as hell. He makes some funny videos.
Good to know. I mean, now that piqued my curious, I definitely want to check him. Definitely want to check him out too. So,
Yeah. And really cool
uh,
strategies, really cool training techniques. It's like I like the guy. I really do, and I don't know him. Like,
that's all.
but
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, it's like like I love what you said because like like I want my same thing for my tribe. Like it's like what like for me, it definitely is just like it's just it's the same thing regarding like like where like how was like trying to figure out like why this worked with this dog or like just looking at like is the dog like are we doing it for what are we doing to help the dog so like it's like between biological fulfillment and just like like what like how are we helping the dog so it helps the owners and
mhm,
just and I and I love using food, I love play so it's just like I do whatever is like I'm like I don't can see myself being like one size fit all like I'm very just my more just like I think this dog will benefit from this and then we can go do play a little bit later on or like just things
mhm,
like that I'm very much just like open minded just see what's going on and just be like, talking to the client just be like hey I think your dog would really benefit this idea and then we can see how they go from there but just at the end I just love when when you and Jay talk is, you know, it's just so insightful, you know. So it's and that's why I love doing live streams like this. So then it's like between people or like clients could listen to this, and you know, I definitely sent them. I definitely sent a lot of people like the last interview we did with like prey drive and leash pulling, and you know, a lot of my clients benefited from that. So it was really insightful for them. And I think, yeah, I think, yeah, I think, you know, just like it, it's definitely just so it definitely just makes me think. It definitely just like I love just like making me. It just makes me think, and I love it because it's like, you know, like I like sometimes when I train dogs or just sometimes when I hear stuff, it's just kind of like one ear out the other. Like whenever like I listen to you, Jay, or I'm always able to kind of like trap information, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I can finally analyzing things. Um, but I
I
think
mean,
just yeah, sorry.
no, that's okay. That's good. That's good to hear. Jay has a metaphor that he uses about, when you're teaching somebody, when you're communicating with somebody, the idea is to get like the picture that's up here into there,
Mm-hmm.
right? If my job, I have an idea in my head and I need to get that idea into your head, and the words I use will never communicate that as precisely as I wish it would,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, like, I don't know. I think it's 20% of human communication is verbal, and the rest has to do with context and tone and body language and all of these other things. So it's only a very small percentage of what the words we say, but how
Mm-hmm.
we say them and the context in which we say them and our relative positions to one another. All that stuff comes into it, and then everything that Pavlov had a whole bit of research that nobody in the dog world really talks about, which I think he called the second system research, which was about the conditioning effect of different words. In other words, if I say the word love to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I love this person, or I love this food, or I love this dog, or I love whatever. There is an assumption that you hear that word and you interpret it to mean the same thing I mean when I say that. But that's almost never the case.
Mm-hmm.
Almost never the case. And Pavlov was going into what are the emotional underpinnings of these words and how do those affect interpretation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I dated a girl one time who was very, very upset if somebody said they were disappointed. Like, and I suspect there was a lot of baggage there with that word. But I use that word, it means nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I was a little disappointed in that movie. It's nothing. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
wished it would have been a little bit better. I was looking for a little bit more, but it's not a big deal. I don't When I say disappointed, it doesn't mean anything except for exactly what is. I wanted it to be a little bit better. I had higher hopes for it, and it didn't meet those hopes. But like for her, disappointed was a big deal, right? And that's what I mean by that. There was an emotional response to that word that was not contained within the vowels and consonants that made that word up. It was contained in her history with that word. And so goes back to what we were talking about with slurs before. There's a history of that word being attached to emotional responses,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so everybody you meet is dealing with that. Everybody you meet is dealing with that. And there are some words that make me feel good when I hear them, and some words that make me feel unhappy when I hear them,
Yep.
right? And it doesn't matter who's saying them. I'm going to feel a certain way. Now, my job as a communicator, when I'm talking to you, is to kind of be reading the room, so to speak. I'm watching you and I'm seeing how you respond. We talked about it already. Like the first time I swear, do I see somebody go, huh? Or do I see them go, right? And it's usually not that, it's usually, more subtle than that. But I know, okay, this person's not going to, if I keep speaking this way to this person, it's going to make it harder for them to receive the message I'm trying to receive. So strategically, I'm going to pull back from that. But if I see
Yep.
them and go, well, I just made the learning environment more fun and comfortable for them, which is going to help them learn, right? So, but it's not just with swear words. There's all sorts of words people have emotional baggage with, and the biggest one, I think, the biggest one for trainers to be aware of is punishment.
Mhm.
People have a strong emotional reaction to punishment, and so there's this argument within the community, and I don't know where I fall on it, to be very honest with you.
Mhm.
I don't know where I fall on it, but there's this big argument in the training community about whether we use the word punishment or we use euphemistic language like correction or adjustment or consequence or whatever. And there are some people who are going to say, no, let's just say what we mean. And if we use the word enough and enough to enough people, that emotional attachment will disappear from it because it will just become a word. And that's probably true. But in the meantime, while we're trying to do that work and make the word unoffensive to people, unemotional to people, how many clients are going to go, I don't want to do that because we chose to call it punishment instead of a correction? How many
Mhm.
dogs aren't going to get the intervention that will work because the owner has an emotional response to the word that we can't overcome?
Mhm.
I think both positions are valid and both positions should be considered. Where I come down on it, it kind of depends on the client,
Yep.
right? But I am always aware if I use the word punishment, I'm always watching to see how the owner is receiving that,
Mhm.
right? Um, because again, my job is not to advocate for a position. My job is not to enter in with, especially with my clients, into the greater training debate about punishment versus force free or whatever. My job is to give them the information and the skills they need in the way that they can best receive it in order to go out and do the work with their dog and get the result they want. If that means I avoid a particular word or phrase or combination of words or a piece of equipment or anything to make them feel more comfortable, then that's what I'm going to do because that's the job. The job is to help them. I don't need to adjust their philosophy of life or punishment. If I can get them using uh, an aversive intervention by not calling it punishment because they have a hang up by the word punishment, I don't fucking care.
Mhm. Yep.
Their dog is better and they feel good about what they're doing. And I'd take that 1,000 times over somebody who's, well, okay, I'll use punishment, but I feel real bad about doing it.
No, 100%. 100%.
Right?
I like s- I definitely see that, and I'm like I'm the same way where read the room, and like sometimes just the word is already like already just the word carries such like that emotional impact or just that emotional association that it's just like, okay, let's instead of saying this, let's say this, and then it just takes some weight off shoulders. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely understand where you're coming from that.
Well, I mean, look at the conversations around equipment, like, right? So, uh, e-collar, remote collar, shock collar,
Yep.
right? Most people who call it a shock collar are trying to get them banned.
Hmm.
Most people who call them an e-collar are trying to defend them. I
Hmm.
prefer remote collar because that's what most manufacturers call them.
Yep.
Look at the box, says remote training collar. Usually doesn't say e-collar. Certainly doesn't say shock collar. At least not in modern era. I think one time they did, but
Hmm.
uh, but the reason why people use shock collar and e-collar is because they understand that those create different emotional responses in people.
Hmm.
And so the argument over the label is not simply semantic. It's about winning the first round. If the force free trainer forces me to defend, well, it's not really a shock collar. Well, does it shock dogs? Well, yes, technically it's called a shock. As soon as I'm defending, I'm losing, and they know that,
Hmm.
right? And it's the same thing when people go, it's not a shock collar, it's an e-collar. It's the same. It's the same reason why they go, oh, it's a static impulse. Like I fucking again, like it doesn't really shock dogs. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That is the proper term for an electrical current being delivered to the skin. It's a shock. Like that is what it's called. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that doesn't that I'm never going to tell somebody that they don't shock dogs. If they go, does it shock the dog? I will go, well, technically yes, but the way we use it, it's not what you're thinking,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, but if I'm arguing online, if I'm having that conversation with a client, that's fine. If I'm having an argument online, I'm losing, right? The moment we hit there, and they know that, and that's why they argue over the framing.
Mm-hmm.
Like so much of communication is based on developing emotional responses, and it's true no matter what you're doing. Like to learn, in order to process memories, you need an emotional component. A lot of people don't realize this, so it goes back to the pattern and relevance thing, which is the topic of this conversation. The more emotionally salient an event is, the more likely you are to learn it, and the faster you will learn it. However, the more emotionally salient it is, the more likely you are to misunderstand it and learn the wrong thing. Right? So superstition correction or superstitious learning rarely happens with minor events. It usually happens with major events.
Mm-hmm.
Like big emotional swings create big learning, but not precise learning. Smaller emotional changes are a little slower, smaller learning, but more precise. So understanding that, and knowing understand when you want to bring the dog into big emotions and when to keep the emotions lower. Like there's a reason that the people who do dog sports want the highest value reward and often want high value or high risk corrections because they want fast fucking responses. They like the podium is maybe the difference between a millisecond between the dog who podiums and the dog who doesn't, right? Like in terms of speed and precision responses. So when you are teaching those behaviors, you want big emotions. You want because you want fast responses, and you work hard to set up the scenario so the dog doesn't learn the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You work really hard to make sure the dog can't get confused about what you're asking for. It's a big part of it because once the dog learns those mistakes, it can be really hard to fix it because they're shooting for big emotions. But in the pet dog world, people don't want big behaviors from their dogs. They want
Yep.
small behaviors. They call us because the dog has too many big behaviors.
Yep.
Like um nobody calls us up and says, you know what, I had to say sit twice to my dog today and I want to fix that. That person never picks up the phone and calls a dog trainer unless they're an aspiring dog trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody in the real world gives a shit if they have to repeat a command to their dogs. And don't get me wrong, I can argue why they shouldn't repeat commands. Blah 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 blah. Like I've been in this game a long time. I used to teach all that shit. Like I used to make it a big deal. Like there's no such thing as sit sit sit. It's sit. Right? I can like I got it. Right? I got it. But the truth is, most dog owners aren't going to give a shit about that, no matter how much you tell them they should, because that's not what they're looking for.
Yep.
They want to enjoy life with their dog, and sitting is never part of that,
Yep.
right? Except when they want to make the dog sit for food because it's fun,
Mm-hmm.
right?
No, no, I love it. It that pretty much sums up how what I experienced with my clients too. It's just like they don't want precision. They just want more. Like can my dog, can you teach my dog to stop doing this, or how can I get him
Mm-hmm.
to come back, and all this stuff. Which this is where we talk about patterns and relevance. And
Mm-hmm.
that it became that definitely becomes like a big component with when I talk to my clients. Like especially dogs that are home like 24/7, and they have all the time to just watch us, like watch our habits, watch what we do, watch our clothes, watch what shoes we wear. So it's it's definitely where like the dog has plenty of time to study us, but we never understand or learn what our dog's like or what our habits are. So
Because we have the power,
mm-hmm.
like literally, like when when everything good in your life comes from somebody else, you're going to study that person. You're going to learn. You understand how you maneuver around people whose mood matters to you, right?
Mhm.
The dog has to because they don't have the power. But we, because we have the power, we can sort of get away with not paying attention to the dog,
Mhm.
right? And people take dogs for granted. Dogs don't take us for granted because they know that we give them everything. People take their dogs for granted because the dog will always be there with a happy waggy tail when we come home. Will always be there to let us pet them when we want to. Will always like we don't. There's nothing the dog gives us that they don't give us 100% freely, right?
Right.
And a lot of people don't give their dogs anything 100% freely, and there's a lot of trainers who tell them that's bad to give to the dog 100% freely,
Mhm.
right? Like I want to be careful here when I say this. There are situations where dogs get quote unquote too much unearned affection. That is a thing. That does exist. It is a real thing. But it is not nearly the common problem a lot of trainers think it is.
Mhm.
Like, there's nothing wrong with just loving on your dog because you love your dog.
Yep.
Like, they shouldn't have to earn that. Like, so, we talk a lot about anthropomorphizing dogs. And I think it's not as bad as it used to be, but I remember like back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s or whatever, boy, that was a big deal to answer. Like, don't give your dog human emotions. What the fuck is a human emotion? Like, what is that exactly? What emotional architecture do humans have that dogs don't? Right?
Mhm.
People would say this all the time. Don't give your dog human emotions. Don't treat your dog like a human. And listen, you're right. You shouldn't treat dogs like a human. You shouldn't feed them what you feed humans. You shouldn't give them the liberty that you give humans. You shouldn't like there's all sorts of things like they are dogs. They have their unique limitations and their unique potentials that we don't have, and they do see the world in ways that are very different than us. And I'm not trying to say treat them like humans, but by God, emotions are emotions, and dogs certainly can feel disappointed in you. They can certainly feel sadness. They can certainly feel jealousy. I love that people, oh, dogs aren't jealous. Like, go pet a fucking dog in front of another dog. Don't tell me they're not. Hey, I want some of that too. Don't fucking tell me that that's not jealousy. Like if it looks like jealousy, it acts like jealousy. It's in the context that jealousy occurs. It's probably jealousy. Like why do all the mental gymnastics to make it mean something other than, hey, I want some of that too. Give me that. I
Yep.
don't want this dog to like. It's so stupid. It's so anyway. Like the problem is that there's another error we make and that is denying dogs traits because we assume those traits are uniquely human. And one of the things that's interesting, if you look at the history of behavioral sciences and neuroscience and veterinary medicine and behaviorism, um, the space of uniquely human traits keeps getting smaller and smaller.
Mhm.
The more they try and define what makes us humans separate from animals, gets harder and harder with every year of research. Like, and Darwin put it correctly. He said most of the differences we're going to find are about degree, not type. Like we all mammals, I think, maybe there's a few exceptions. Most mammals have eyes and ears and a nose. We all have four limbs, right? We all have
Mhm.
a heart. We all have a digestive tract. We all have a brain, and to a large extent, they differ not in what they can do, but how well they do them and how far they go. Right?
Right.
Like for some mammals have very poor eyesight. Compared to humans, dogs have pretty bad eyesight. It's a difference in degree, not type,
Mhm.
right? We both have noses, but geez, their nose is way better than ours,
Mhm.
right? Degree, not type. We all have, not all mammals have prefrontal cortexes, but dogs do, right? But not as advanced as ours. Ours is way more complicated than theirs,
Yep.
right? But it's degree, not type, in so many of these ways. And what they're finding is they're looking for the unique type of behavior or something that is unique to humans, and we don't really have a lot of places left for it to hide.
Mhm.
So and the point I'm getting at is if something makes you feel good or feel bad, there's a pretty good chance that your dog will have a similar reaction to that,
Sure.
right? So like why do our dogs know our comings and goings? Because it matters to them. Because they don't have any control over it. They don't have control when we leave or when we come back, and they don't always know. Like imagine you're a dog. Dogs are social creatures. No dog wants to be alone. Like don't get me wrong, there might be moods. The dog might go, I want to go in my crate and be alone for a while. But in general, dogs are social creatures, and they don't like being alone as a general rule. Like again, there are times where it's an exception, and there are maybe some individuals, but in general, dogs don't like to be alone. So when we leave them alone, it's a big deal because they don't have any control over it. They don't know when for sure it's going to do it happen. They don't know when we're going to come back. The whole thing is lacks controllability. It lacks understanding, and so it's stressful for them. But people don't worry about that because their dog never leaves them alone. Like there's never a point where they're like, "When's my dog coming back? I don't know where he went." Right? Because
Yep.
we managed to control them so they can't do that. So we it is easy for us to disconnect from our dog's experience because we have the power to do so. It's that simple.
Yep.
Um, the dog cannot disconnect from our behavior because they have no control over it, and our behavior dramatically affects them, and there's little they can say about it. So, of course, they're going to be more attentive to us. Of course, they're going to want to respond to us more. Of course, they're going to think harder about how to get us to do what they want. Of course, they will. But if you want to be really good at this, if you want to be really good, just honestly, as a dog owner, first off, but especially as a trainer, you have to not let yourself take that easy road.
Mhm.
You have to think about it from the dog's perspective and try and understand and predict the dog as well as they're trying to understand and predict you. And then we start to get some equality. Like, listen, there's no two ways about it. Like we have to be in charge because every dog in the world thinks drinking antifreeze is a great fucking idea. Like we have to be in charge. We have to be the senior partner. But we don't have to take it for granted. We don't have to just, yeah, I'm in control. Like
Yep.
it's so easy to do that. And that's one of the things that people love about dog. When you talk about people talk about what they love of dogs, what's one of the things that always comes up? Unconditional love.
Mhm.
Like that's awesome. That's all. Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, dogs do have that capacity to give us unconditional love, and we should learn from that, and we should admire that, and we should enjoy that. But fucking a, we should never count on it. We should never take it for granted. Like my dog, Hella should not have to love me unconditionally. You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
Like the fact that she has a capacity, I hope I never test that capacity because if I am testing it, I'm kind of being an asshole.
Mhm.
Right? Like
Yep.
I don't want to ever find out how far I don't want her to know how much she loves me despite me being terrible to her.
Mhm.
I want to make it easy for her to love me. And I want to do that
100%.
by being lovable.
Mhm.
How does love behave? That's the question always comes down to how does love behave?
Mhm.
And when you're not and love doesn't behave casually with other people's feelings,
Right.
you know?
There has to be
Love
there has to be a certain degree. like how
Hmm.
you say and things like that.
Well, again, stealing from Jay, for not from. Love wants for the beloved, not from them.
Hmm.
I want for my dog, not from her. And when
Right.
a lot of people talk about dogs, and especially trainers, why do you love your dog? What the answer they give you is going to be a bunch of froms. Dog
Hmm.
does this for me. The dog does this for me. The dog does this for me. It's never about, it's rarely, I shouldn't say never, it's rarely about what they give to the dog.
Hmm.
It's about what the dog gives to them. You ask me why I love Hella. She's my friend. That's why.
I lo- I
And
love that. I love that. And that's honestly like just like that's honestly like an awesome way to kind of end this live stream is just like at the end of the day like you love like I love my dogs for being my friends, my companion. Like just they come with me. They come with me to the beach. I let them be dogs. I love bringing my Malinois. She brings them. I bring her to the card shop. She loves just the idea of the fact that I'm doing something together with her. And it's yeah. I just love that. Just the
it's
way.
like, I think
Sorry.
it's like parenting. Like when you're a
Yeah.
parent, you love to see your kid happy.
Hmm.
I love to see my dog happy.
Hmm.
So I do things to make her happy. And and that's why we're friends, because we make each other happy. And
No, 100%.
but a
Uh.
lot of my happiness comes from her being happy, so that's the nice part about it.
Hmm. Yeah. No. I no. Anytime 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 like I take my dog some out or like they're just fulfilled, like it just makes me happier too. So um but yeah, so I chat like if someone wanted to, like after they heard this awesome interview, like
Yeah.
if they wanted to learn more from you, um like where can someone like go to like get more content from you, like outside
So
from
like,
just your social media?
yeah, so I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Substack,
Hmm.
all under my name, uh, at Chad Mackin. Um, the I have a Patreon too. That's going to be patreon.com/barkabout, one word barkabout. And I just want to say a little thing about this
Hmm.
Patreon, since we're gonna kind of promote it a little bit. I have a very frustrating relationship with Patreon,
Hmm.
because here's the thing. I don't like putting knowledge behind a paywall.
Hmm.
If I had my way, my Patreon would be free to everybody. Patreon is the only place where the algorithm doesn't prevent you from getting my stuff. Patreon and Substack. There's only places where if you follow me, you'll get everything I put out there. And I do have a free tier on my Patreon. Um, what I would like to say is that I at one point hope to get to a point where there is no paid, there's nothing behind a paywall on my Patreon. I
Hmm.
would love to get to the point where I have enough people who support me enough. Like when Patreon first came out, it was supposed to be, I support this creator and I want to help them do what they do. And then it started to become transactional. If you pay this fee, you will get this extra content and this extra content. And that just feels kind of gross to me.
Hmm.
So I put a lot of stuff on my Patreon for free that I probably shouldn't, because I hate to put knowledge behind a paywall. Um, So, like, I'm not gonna sit here. Like, there is stuff behind the paywall, and I'm putting something up tonight behind the paywall. But I want to get away from that. So, my thing is if you join up on my Patreon for free and you like the stuff that I'm sharing there, and you think that my work is worth supporting, I would ask you to consider joining the paid tier, not to get the extra information,
Hmm.
but because you believe in what I'm doing, because it does help. It helps a lot. Like, I could probably make a lot more money on my Patreon if I was more mercenary about blocking everything behind paywalls. But I don't want to do that. I want to go the other route. I believe in sharing information. I love to share information. So go to get a free membership. And if you stick around for a couple months and you like it and you feel like you'd like to throw a little money at me for the work that I put out there and the content I'm giving away for free, think about getting a paid tier. That's what I want. I don't want people paying so they get extra information. I want people paying because they want to help what I'm doing. They believe in me and they believe in what I'm doing and they want to support my work and the effort I put into making content because I spend a lot of money, a lot of time making content that, and most of it is free and hours and hours every month writing and editing and putting stuff up because I want people to have the information and I make very little money off of my content and because I just kind of resist monetizing it because it's kind of how I'm programmed. So that's what I would say about that. Get the free tier if you want. I would appreciate it. But at some point in time, if you think it's worth it, you know, consider jumping up to the paid tier. I don't want to make it transactional though. I
For
hate
sure,
that.
for sure, for sure. And yeah, it definitely just like, like I definitely appreciate the information. So I definitely wanted, to just, you know, pay for it in a way, like I want people to go there and, learn and appreciate the content as well. So that's why I figured, I just plug this in,
No, I
just because I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
you, Chad.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you too. You're a good guy. You are. I've known you for a long time, and you've grown a lot in the time I've known you. So it's been really great watching you become, the trainer that you are today and the person you are today. I've enjoyed spectating on your journey.
I really appreciate those kind words, Chad. Like I remember just going to my first conference and you were like one of the first presentations that I saw, and I'm just like, I just love that part. I just love learning. So, but yeah, no, guys, I think we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna cut the live, and then, but hope everyone has a great Monday. And again, Chad, thank you for talking with me. This is awesome.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
All right, Facebook, I will. We're gonna cut the live, but I will see you all next week for Jay. So we'll talk to you later.